Hi everybody, today I'm going to be sharing with you my design team project for Discount Paper Crafts. I will have a link below. I altered this Tim Holtz clock. It was a lot of fun, so let's get started. I am sharing with you how I took off the glass to the clock there. I used this little wrench tool and I couldn't find the actual tool itself, so I kind of just wedged a key in the opposite side and it worked perfect. I just had to find the right size to take off the screws, but I screwed them back on, so that the little pieces wouldn't move when I started painting and misting and all that other stuff. So I am adding 2 coats of gesso, very light coat for the first one, and I don't show the second coat, but I do add it a little bit thicker. I want to make sure that it's very well coated so that the ink takes well onto the clock. Here I am taking some modeling paste and I'm just scraping it on with this tool here. I got these at the craft store. I believe it was like $5 for a set. They're plastic. I mean, I'm not too much into mixed media, so I don't need, really expensive tools. I am just scraping it along all of the sides and on the top, and I did let the clock dry before I started this step. So this creates a lot of fun texture, and I do kind of pounce the tool on some of the the modeling paste just to give it a little bit extra texture and kind of create some peaks and fun texture there. So now I'm taking this South Shore Sand, no, I'm sorry, Clam Bake Beige from Lindy's Stamp Gang, just spraying it, and then I heat dry it with my tool. And then now this is the South Shore Sand, my 2 favorite colors, brown colors I should say. And then I heat it, and you could see how the texture in some parts, you could see the modeling paste there. And this is the Cape Cod Coral. I am using the Lyric collection, the Prima Lyric collection, and it has that kind of pink color in there, so I wanted to just add a little bit of that color onto the clock. I spray the inside as well. I'm not too worried too much about the inside because I am decorating. I'm going to be embellishing the back of the clock, and it kind of just covers some of that. So, and that is the South Shore Sand. This is the Jack Frost. No, I'm sorry. Don't Eat Golden Snow. That's that color. And now I'm tracing the back of the clock onto the Lyric paper. And I'm using this Prima Distress tool, which you can get at Kathy's shop. And I do add some of that Don't Eat Yellow Snow onto the paper. I do end up painting it and other stuff later in the video, but this is some 3-in-1 Beacon adhesive, and I thought it was the same thing as Fabri-Tac, but apparently it's not. And I think that it might be this, the end result is the same, but I just got it, so we'll see how all my projects hold up. I like Fabri-Tac, so we'll see how it works. This is a Leaky Shed Studios chipboard clock, and I wanted it to fit inside of the clock. My first thought was I wanted it to fit on the outside of the clock, but then I changed my mind and I wanted this piece on the back of the clock. So I'm just taking that distress tool and just kind of sanding it down there. Taking some gesso, and then I'll be painting the whole clock, and then I'll spray it with some South Shore Sand and the Cape Cod Coral, using that 3-in-1 Beacon adhesive. And I get my adhesives and my gesso and modeling paste from Amazon. I don't live near a craft store and I don't get there very often, so when I need it I just get it from there. This is the Shimmers Textures. I love this stuff. And this is the Tidy Whitey I think it's called. It's really gritty and it's really fun texture. It's just different than you get from your normal, gesso, or I'm sorry, modeling paste and things like that. So I am just going to be scraping it along the whole clock, and I do spray the clock again so it'll be colored, but I really wanted this fun texture along the whole clock, and it is shiny a little bit too, so but it's not overpowering. I'm not too much into the shine, so I'm not worried about getting too much shimmer, which is kind of weird because I'm using shimmer as paint, but and this is the Gossamer Gold, which is another one of my favorite colors. It's just very vintage looking. And then I spray the clock in the back paper there. I do end up painting over it. You'll see in just a second here. I do change up my vision a little bit throughout the process here. And these paint brushes are the Martha Stewart paint brushes. I splurged the last time I was at the craft store, and I got them with my coupon, and I love them. I had some other ones and they just they wouldn't get clean enough, and it was just kind of a mess sometimes. So trying these ones out. Hopefully they'll last longer than the other ones. So I'm painting the back there, and so that it is white again. You could see the image when you're holding the clock. Can't really see it on camera there, but I take some more of that clam baked beige, kind of just to give it a little bit of color, and then I sprayed it on that lace there, and to give that just a little bit of color as well. And I'll be adding it with the 3-in-1 adhesive, and this lace trim I got from Michaels, and it's really pretty. I just like it for a lot of my projects. It's very delicate and dainty, I guess. So next I will be adding this Prima clock, but I end up taking it apart at the end and actually using the clock on the front of my clock. So I use cardboard quite often to give dimension to my pictures and other elements in my projects. It's cheaper, and I mean, I have lots of packages that I just cut up if I'm not going to reuse them to send anything out. So I'm going to be taking a Prima vine, and this is available at Kathy's store. I am going to be painting it with some gesso and then using some Jack Frost just to give it a little bit more whitewashed look. And I do cut it up, and because I want to use it on the front of my clock and on the inside of my clock. You can see here I'm just cutting it up. So it gives, you can use it, in more places. Sometimes I use my vines and sprays in more than one project, because a lot of times it gets covered up. So these butterflies are the Leaky Shed Studios butterflies, and they're the small ones. There comes in 3 in a pack, and these are also available at Kathy's store. If you go to my blog, I'll have all the links to everything that is available in her store. And I just painted it with some gesso, and then now I'm just adding the picture down there. So I'm going to be spraying the butterfly with, I believe it's Toto's black, something along the lines of the, the Wizard of Oz, Toto's black. I'm sorry, I had to move from my desk, so I don't have the color in front of me, but here you could see I'm using that tool again to put back the glass, and it did scrape some of the paint up, but I'm not worried. I'm just gonna paint again with some gesso and then just leave it like that, because once I have it displayed right now in a hutch, so right now no one's gonna examine it and notice that it scraped off a little bit. And just painting it with the gesso, and I do add a few more coats of that on where it scraped off, just so that it's covered. I don't want the metal to show through at all, but I'm adding some pearls here with my tool there. That's a quick stick, and this is a Prima resin, also available in Kathy's store. I love these, and I just added some gesso so that the color that I spray on there will hold hopefully pretty well. I use the clam bake beige and then dry it up, and I really like that effect because it's darker in the crevices, and it just is really pretty, I think. Okay, so now I'm going to be embellishing the outside of the clock, and this is that Prima resin piece, and I'm just adding it to the top there. You can see I created kind of like a little shadow box within the clock. I haven't seen anybody do a picture inside yet, so kind of wanted to do something different. And then here I'm adding some of that spray, and then like I said, I do end up taking it apart and then adding that Prima clock, the metal one, onto the top of the clock, the Tim Holtz clock. This is another one of those Leaky Shed Studios butterflies, and I add it to the side there. And then that flower on the spray, the vine there on the bottom, is a Prima, I believe from the Engraver collection. You could pick that up at Kathy's store as well. And these are the clock hands. I was hesitant to get these because my silhouette does cut out intricate clock hands, but I just couldn't help myself. So I picked these up, and these are available at Kathy's store as well. And I use the white ones for the outside of the clock, and I believe I was trying to see if I was going to want to use one in the middle of the butterfly, but it didn't end up working out. But I used some E6000 to adhere these down to the clock so that they're, down pretty well. And then I use a smaller one on the top and then a larger one on the bottom there, kind of giving the effect of the clock. And then there's that Prima clock piece. And I do add a little bit more embellishments that you see there off camera, and I apologize for that. But I do add a sentiment from the paper and some buttons from the Lyric collection, and some twine, and you can pick up the twine from Kathy's store as well. And let's see, I use a button on the inside on that butterfly, and then the outside you could see in the pictures at the end of the video. And I use E6000 to adhere the Prima clock to the Tim Holtz clock. It just works really well. So I'm just adding the spray and all the flowers back on to the clock. And luckily it wasn't dried all the way yet, so it was pretty easy to take apart. But that completes the video, and if you have any questions, please feel free to ask me. And make sure you stop by Kathy's store, and I hope you guys have a great day. Thanks so much for watching.